Okay, that should be loud enough. I can always increase the loudness. Title: Wednesday Wisdom with Lauren.
Yahoo! We are live.
Let's go live.
Bring it on. We are at our Wednesday wisdom chat with the pair of us. So you've got Tom to my right, maybe your left, and me, Lauren. So I know on my podcast when I'm releasing these, they're probably not even on a Wednesday, and that's because we're doing our Wednesday wisdoms live on Instagram and on Tom's Facebook. So you might just let that truck pass.
Yeah. All good. Just trying to record a live video
good,
here.
No worries. I was like, it has never been this noisy before. So what we were just talking about before we jumped on this live was relationships, and not just talking about like romantic relationships or intimate relationships, but building relationships in business. And what is coming through for not just Tom and I, but also Sarah and Josh, because we're all doing our own businesses here at home, is that it's building rapport with people. It's building relationships versus it being a transaction, and not having it be like, oh, here, buy my products, join my team. It's like, actually, let me get to know you and really realize why I want to know you anyway, to stick around. And I think that's where people naturally get drawn into what we do or what you do, depending on what you do for work, whether you're also in like a home business or a remote business that you're running yourself. And I definitely know that when I'm coming from a place of really knowing who I am and what I'm doing and acting authentically, that this is when people naturally just keep coming into my little funnel web, and they're like, oh, what are you doing? And what's working for you? Because your health looks really good, or your energy's really good, or your skin looks really nice. And it's like, that's that opportunity of, yeah, you can share with them what you're doing, even still in those moments, not needing to go, oh, like, here, join my team. It's like, give people as much content as possible and give them quality over quantity. So yeah.
Yeah, I think Facebook is not working. I'll try and get that working. But yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying about all that stuff. And just to put it into context, I spoke to a guy called Jay Phantom last Friday, who is a podcast host, the Storybox podcast. And he basically spoke about, in his podcast, he has some amazing guests like Tony Robbins, Tom Bilyeu, Grant Cardone, some of the top people in the world in their fields. And he speaks about, it's not just about messaging them and trying to get them on your podcast and say, hey, can I have you on my podcast? I'd love for you to be a guest. It's about building a relationship with them and talking about, rather than just, getting them on your podcast, talking about what you can do for them as well, because obviously it's just a one-way thing. If you're trying to get them on your podcast and say, hey, can you jump on the pod for me? It's more about what can you do for them, how are you going to provide value for them and build that relationship with them. It's not about saying to them straight up, I'd love for you to be on my podcast. It's about, hey, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I'm passionate about, love to connect, I'd love to get you on the podcast in the future, but I'm sure you want to learn more about me to start with, or whatever it is, and trying to build that relationship that way.
And in some of the Tony Robbins events that we've done as well, they talked about those 3 parts of relationship as well, where when it's that beginning part of, I guess, understanding where you're coming at and what your intention is moving into any friendship or relationship that you might be having. And it's like, are you going in to get, or are you going in to give? And when you keep going in to just get something from it, you like put a level of expectation versus I'm just going in with the intention to give, and not doing that at the expense of yourself, but genuinely being there to show up for what the other person might need or want. And so that comes down to like listening and understanding what someone's struggle points are or pain points are, as opposed to, hey, this is what I do and this is who I am. And it's like, I didn't ask, like,
yeah.
like, and that's something that's like a huge off-put for me, when people just come into my like DMs or something and they're telling me all about themselves. I'm like, who are you? Like, I don't even there was no establishment of connection beforehand, and already I'm put off by feeling like you're trying to sell me something that I didn't ask for. So
Yeah, the perfect example of that is you go to your Instagram DMs, you see the requests up the top right corner, you click on it, and it's like, hey, how would you like to make 10K a month? It's like, yeah, I get the same message from people all the time. Like,
yeah,
don't even try and do that to me because I'm not interested. And I know that's a closed-minded way of looking at things, but I'm not going to respond to something like that. I would much rather respond to someone who, even though, especially being in business myself, I understand someone's intentions when they are trying to build rapport and build a relationship.
yeah,
And I know that, I can pick it when someone is going to pitch at some point, but I'm still more willing to build a relationship with someone that's doing that, because I understand that they're trying to build that relationship and that rapport with me, and I'm much more likely to, I guess, listen to what they have to say and actually think about, could this be something that benefits me, rather than just look at it and go, oh, I'm not interested. So yeah.
and reaching out to like everybody and anybody. For me, I personally don't want everybody I know on my team, or I don't want everybody doing what I'm doing, because it's like that's not going to resonate with everybody, and the things that I'm interested in might not be what Tom's interested in, or like my sister or her partner or my other friends. And it's like we need different people for different parts of our life. And so realizing that if you are just looking at people's social media and going, oh, I'm going to cold message all of these people, or just message a bunch of people, which, to an extent, it's about exposing yourself, but try and do it in a really authentic way if you are doing that, and like taking the time to look at their profile and go, hey, like, don't know them from a bar of soap, but I really love the message that they're putting out there, and be truthful about that. Because if you do get them onto your team, I would hope that it would be a really true organic friendship as well that gets built there. It's not just another number.
And it's about nurturing that relationship too. It's not about just, I guess, getting what you want and leaving. It's about continuing that relationship, because you never know what that connection is going to do for you in the future. And that's something that Jay spoke about on the podcast too. People have sent him their books early. Like, even, I'm just trying to think of an example. Stephen Covey's son actually wrote a book recently, and he sent it to Jay, and it hasn't even been released yet, kind of thing. So, those sort of things where, because he's constantly nurturing that relationship, he gets opportunities that other people don't. Whereas if you just got them on the podcast and said, thanks for your time, never speaks to them again.
Yeah.
And even if he hadn't have nurtured that relationship in the first place, they're not likely to remember him and want to help him out and send copies of books and things like that. That's a small example. They might actually think of you and say, hey, I've got this business idea, I want you to be a part of it. This is going to blow up. Or they want you to join some sort of business venture with them, or whatever it is. Nurturing that relationship. It doesn't have to be calling for an hour a day, but just the odd message here and there. It can just be commenting on people's photos and posts and saying, love this message, because you're staying active with them. You're sharing positive vibes and positive content. So it can be as simple as that.
One huge thing that I think we've briefly touched on at some point, but like Sarah, my sister, and I have spoken about a lot, is like understanding people's love languages. And from the very beginning of a relationship or friendship, understanding what people want out of it. So if you are trying to get people to join your team, or people are looking to solve a problem, understand what it is, whether it's like a financial thing, whether it's a community thing, and then understanding what they want to get out of it and how they best feel they're being nurtured. So the ways that I feel nurtured might be different to how Tom likes to feel nurtured or supported in a process, where like I need that guidance along the way. I need that mentorship. I need to feel like I'm a part of something bigger and can contact my mentor at any time and ask those questions that I might feel like a bit silly about, or that seem super basic. Then other people, like you were saying, might just need that message, like you're doing a really good job, or commenting on their posts or something. And that's enough for them to go, cool, like I know I'm in the right space. And that can change at different times and in different contexts of the relationships that you're in, whether that's work or home life or wherever you might be for that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think even just from an intimate standpoint too, understanding the love languages better, which is something that we did at the very start, was figure out what our love languages are. And it makes it easy because they're the same essentially. But we know that quality time, physical touch, and words of affirmation are probably the top 3 out of the 5 or the 6 or however many there are. So we know that we can nurture that relationship with each other by focusing on giving that and hoping in return to receive that, because we know that that's what works and that's what our love language is. For someone else it might be gift giving, but if you don't know what that is for the other person, you can't tap into that energy, and they're never going to feel, what's the word I'm looking for, respected, heard, all the connotations of those sort of things, loved to an extent, and similar sort of words and connotations around that. They're not going to be feeling those emotions purely because the love language that they crave is not being served to them, even though the other person might feel like they want physical touch. It might be gifts, it might be words of affirmation. But until you actually figure it out, what it is for yourself and what it is for your partner, you won't be able to express that with each other and tap into those energies. And that's potentially how a lot of relationships come to an end, is because people don't feel heard or loved, even though the other person is giving, but just not giving in the right language that, they might think it's right for them, but it might not be right for the other person.
Yeah, we often give how we want to receive. And like, I just want to kind of pull up on the language that you used earlier of like, just say, I love quality time. And I know that you love quality time. I still give that to you without the hope of receiving it back. It's a knowing that if we really do understand and respect each other's, that I'm not hoping to get that, it just will be there because
Exactly.
you like love that person, or you really want to nurture that relationship in a really holistic way. So it's, again, when we talk about giving without the expectation of receiving, but just allowing yourself to receive when it comes, and going, can that teach me a lot about how that person gives? Maybe that is their language of how they like to receive, and really questioning that, as opposed to getting perhaps frustrated or feeling resentful, because we've spoken about it with people that we know that are close to us, where we've observed their relationships. It's like, both of our mums are very, very giving people, but I know that resentment could probably build up in them because maybe who they're trying to give to hasn't received it in the way that like speaks true to them, or like the partner, in that sense, if I'm explaining that well. And so these little things done over time can be like, well, I'm giving and you just don't get it. And so communication right from the beginning and throughout until the end is so essential, and not just verbal communication, but I take a lot of like body language and observing other things in people that, there's communication in all parts of life.
Yeah, 100%. I wouldn't say I have much to add on to that. I think you summed it up pretty well.
Awesome. I reckon we'll keep it nice and short for this little one. And that is our Wednesday wisdom to you. And nurturing relationship and understanding the needs of the people that are around you. So if that is a question that feels a little bit uncomfortable for you, we dare you to ask somebody, or even take the quiz yourself. Like Google the 5 love languages quiz and figure out what your top love languages are, so you know how you're best receiving, but how maybe you are observing that you're giving that a lot, and maybe it's not being received by somebody else because they have a completely different love language. So that was something that we did quite early on, and it was just
that was almost pre-relationship.
That was just like friendship, when we were just chatting and getting to know each other a little bit more, because I was very curious. I was like, I don't think you'd heard about it really until
I'd
heard about it. But
I'd never done it. I'd just heard about it.
So it was really good to have that from the get-go, because I know that if I ever feel like something's not right within myself, it's like I can go, okay, well, what's happening here? In what way am I not feeling nurtured or supported? And it's like maybe there's been a lack of quality time with the people that I really love and appreciate. And that, you know, same for Tom, if he's feeling frustrated or something's going on, it's like, what need isn't being met here, or what language isn't being spoken to? And yeah, I know that the communication side is going to be one of our strengths moving forward to,
For
conquer
sure.
it all.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Wednesday Wisdom with Tom and Lauren. We will catch you again next Wednesday.
Later, Gators.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know why the